The worst piece of advice I've ever received, it was funny. It was do what feels good.
Okay.
And I was like 8 or something. And I was like, that didn't even sound right as an 8-year-old.
Right.
I was like, do what feels good. I think that if I did what felt good,
Right.
I would probably have 1,500 children, morbidly obese, and I would never work.
Welcome to another episode of the Dre and Smiley, The Inner Circle podcast.
Smiley, man, I'm so excited to have our next guest on. Let me just set the mood real quick before I tell you who our next guest is here. Yeah.
Boy wonder.
This next guest has been on the podcast before, and I'm super excited to have her back. So this guest has been involved in so much as it relates to entrepreneurship, to finance, to coaching, etc. And so what I'm excited about today is her talking about what she and her husband are doing now as it relates to all those things. So with that, Jayla, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. And like we were talking about before, we were doing all things rentals last time, and we were talking about multiple streams of income. And we were talking about the octopus versus the monster, where you have one business like Amazon. It has Amazon, it has drop shipping, it has Amazon Prime. It's one body and then just multiple arms. So we were doing the same thing with rentals. We had a rideshare portion of our business. We picked up people from the airport, gave them a car, gave them places to stay, took them back. So we had 4 streams from one body, if you will. We were going to scale to jet skis, kayaks, speedboat rentals, just because that was a great addition to our company. But my husband wanted to start a family. Okay. So now we have 2 babies. Okay. A 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. And, they're like 9 months apart. So super crazy, super close.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be 11 months apart, but, the second one came early. So that was cool.
Okay.
So we said we have to pivot, and I've been a basketball player, growing up, and, if you don't pivot, right, sometimes you'll definitely lose the game, so, like if you have the ball, right, and you don't want to turn around, right, because you're like, I'm going this direction, I'm just going to be running after this direction, and then what if the ball got stolen and you have to go the other direction? If you don't pivot, if you don't turn around, if you don't make some game changes, sometimes it can be detrimental to your game. Okay. So we said, okay, in this season of building a family, because we had the systems, we were able to scale to $1 million in 18 months.
Wow.
So we said, now that we have some capital, what are we going to do to pivot, and what industry should we get into? So whenever we're going to pivot, we always get a mentor. So we already had a mentor that helped us get to that point, but we needed another mentor to take us to another point. So my actual mentor introduced me to the other one, and he was talking about merger and acquisitions. He was saying how a lot of wealthy people in other ethnicities, they understand about buying businesses instead of starting them. So in the past, I was a business consultant. I helped people start, grow, and scale 6-figure businesses. But I said, okay, I can't coach right now. I got babies. They always coming in, messing up things. So what can I do that is going to be substantial and still move the needle? So we said, we're just going to see what we already have, right, which are cars. So which business can I buy to supplement, and so we don't lose so much money in a pivot? So we were so within the 9-month time frame I was pregnant, I was just learning everything about merger and acquisitions, how to buy businesses, how to stack the deals, how to meet with people, talk to them, understand the P&Ls and all those kind of things. Even though I outsourced like due diligence, I still wanted to understand the financial due diligence and the legal due diligence and all the different things with business so that we don't lose money. So we were able to find a non-emergency medical transportation business to buy, and we went to close on this deal. So it was $800,000, and they were netting about $400,000. So it was a 2 times multiple. It was good for the industry, and I said that's beautiful. And we had cars, so we could scale the business quickly. So we said we're going to move all our cars into that business, and it's crazy because with business, things move fast, right? So he was trying to get out, be with his family. We were trying to get in. and I was pregnant. So, and by the time this deal was there, I already had one baby, and I was about to have the other. Okay, so this
Wow.
was like all happening so crazy, and we were like, okay, so let's move into it. In all of our deals, we made a stipulation where we have a 90-day due diligence period to make sure that things were, accurate and they didn't tell us lies and all those kind of things. And we have an out clause. So we saw that there was a lot of discrepancies in logistics and all those things, and we were like, this is too much. Actually, the first week we signed the papers, that Friday, so we signed on Wednesday. That Friday, the checks bounced for the paychecks for all the employees for the week before. So, and we pay
Whoa.
the people weekly in this business. So we had to pay them. So that Friday, we had to pay them their paychecks that week and for the week before, and pay all the bounce things for the banks. So I said, okay, that was strike one. Okay,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
strike one. Okay,
Right.
and then
Right.
we were doing the due diligence, and usually we do the due diligence beforehand, but this was a kind of rush thing. I was about to have a baby, and
Right.
actually mid deal, I actually had the baby because she came 2 months early. So I'm
Okay.
still trying to figure these things out. I have a newborn that's in the NICU. It was so much
Yeah.
going on. So we said, okay, and then we saw that there was a lot of discrepancies. So what we did with that deal is we said, look, we can just take equity in this deal. We're not gonna be the full owners. Okay. It was in Chattanooga. He told me I could be an absentee. Okay. Which when I got there, he was talking about how, you have to be hands on, you have to be in here. I said, look, this is not what I signed up for, nor was
Yeah.
this part of the contract.
Right.
So,
Right.
you can keep that. We'll take 20%. We'll increase and scale your business. We got back some contracts for them that they lost, due to negligence. Okay. Honestly.
Wow. Wow.
And,
Wow.
so we just said, okay, we're just going to keep and shoot for like equity. Okay.
Okay.
And then the next year, right, this is when we had the two babies. We said marketing, we'll go for a marketing company because we always need marketing in all of our businesses. Okay.
Makes
So
sense.
this year, my mentor came um, with one of my other ones. So we have like adjacent mentors, if you will.
Okay.
And they
Okay.
were all here during the Super Bowl. And they were telling me about solar and all these things. And I was like, look, I'm not interested. Like, I've never worked for a company. Well, I haven't worked for a company since like 2020, maybe
Right. Right.
2019.
Right.
And I said,
And
look,
this solar thing is something new and different.
exactly. I have the
Let
freedom
me,
to
let
use
me
my
pause you
pro.
there for a second. Let me pause you
Oh,
there for
okay.
a second.
I'm
So
sorry.
for the listeners, I want them to really appreciate what you've accomplished and maybe get some nuggets from it
Okay.
all. So in 18 months, you were able to generate $1 million in revenue.
Yes.
You mentioned the importance of understanding when to pivot and how to do that. And you also mentioned the importance of having mentors, right?
Yes.
So there's probably a million questions I can ask in there. Let me ask you one that comes to mind at the forefront. How did you identify the right mentor for you in terms of what you wanted your next best step to be?
Okay. So there's actually a scripture, right, that I think is fascinating, and it's always helped me. It says, my sheep hear my voice, they know me, and they follow me. So this was Jesus speaking, right? And while the principle's there, okay, so we're not talking about I'm following you like, you're my cult leader. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the same thing. My sheep hear my voice. People can speak and you can relate with them or not based off of the words that they say. Sometimes it's not always the exact way of saying things. Like, my husband's a big Grant Cardone guy. Grant Cardone's
Okay,
loud and
okay.
flashy and
Right,
intrusive a little bit, right?
right, right, right.
Personally, not that's not my vibe, right? I can
Okay.
learn from him, and he's been a good mentor when it comes to like real estate and stuff, but he's not someone who draws me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just the mindset. Like I said, he was Marcus Barney was our original mentor, and we took a shot on that. We said, okay, his mentorship at the time was 5,000, and we were in a transition, and we were like, okay, 5,000 to us at that time was a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we just moved to Nashville. My husband, he was actually working at the post office at this time. He was paying all the bills. I was working with a juice bar we were trying to buy, but I was just managing it at the time. So I would tithe 10%, save 90%. Okay, so he's paying all the bills. I'm tithing 10, saving 90. Okay, and that's how we were running. And we got to a point and we're like, okay, we have some savings. What's to do? So we were like, okay, maybe we should just put it with my cousin who's like a investment banker or something. We didn't know what to do. And it's actually funny. My cousin sent me a motivational video, and I was at work at the juice bar. So my earphones were in, and the store didn't open yet. So I was listening to my morning, whatever motivation, and someone walked in. She was like there early, but I let her in, right? But the earphones were still in. And this guy was just talking, and I didn't want to show her that I had earphones because it was behind my hair, right? And I was doing stuff, so I didn't want to like touch stuff. So I was like, okay. And he just came on in the background, and I was like, I like the way the systematic way that he was speaking. And I was like, okay, I don't even know who this guy is. But when she left, I was like, okay, who's this guy? And I just started doing a little research, and I said, no, this is the guy I know I could follow because he thinks the way I think.
The
He's thinking outside the box.
frequency.
Exactly. So he was talking about get a smart car and wrap it and get 3 streams of income out of it and all these different things, and then you can rent it to DoorDash people. It was just the way he was thinking. It wasn't the actual thing he was saying. It was the systems that his brain works through. And that's what I was like, okay, let me see. And this was the guy for me.
Okay, that's how you found your mentor.
That's how I found my mentor. Yes.
Now you mentioned back then when you were just getting started and your husband was working at the post office and you were saving 90, tithing 10, and you took this leap of faith because he spoke to you and you did the 5,000 for the mentorship. Let's fast forward to now. Now you're $1 million in revenue. Are you still using a different mentor? Does it go up 5x the mentor fees, and is it worth it? Or would you recommend someone who's listening saying, oh man, I'm struggling with paying this 5,000, but if it takes me my business to another level, then it's worth it. But then now I'm at another level. Do I pay the mentor 30,000 and maybe that'll get me to 5 million in revenue? Does it scale like that? Or I guess the specific question is, you said that your mentor moved you to another mentor. Is it because you grew out of his depth, or you just was moving into an arena he wasn't comfortable with?
Okay, so if you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich, have you guys ever read that book?
I did.
It's a great book. Okay.
Awesome.
So they're talking about generalized knowledge versus specialized knowledge. So my first mentor gave me the generalized knowledge, but there were the principles to lay the foundation. So he was able to help me to get from investing 5,000 to making 6 figures. So it was the first, we're just making regular income, 60,000 a year, probably together, to going to making 100,000. So within 3 months of him being my mentor and actually doing what he says, you can have a mentor and not do anything they say. You can buy courses and do all these things, but you're not implementing. They say knowledge is power. It's not. The implication of knowledge, the implementation of the knowledge is power. Wisdom is even knowing how to apply the knowledge. So you can have all this knowledge and be just a big brain. You can have they always say you're dropping gems. You can drop all the gems all over the place and be penniless. So this isn't Candy Crush. You don't want to be dropping gems and then you're still broke. We said what we learned we're going to apply. And we're going to apply it like no one else. Like this is the only thing. And even now, what we're doing now, we said, I'm going to be all in. And if you can be all in and you put all your energy, remember, there's going to be times where seasons pass. You have to understand seasons. Because if you're in the springtime, right, you're seeing all the stuff. And you don't realize that fall's coming and the leaves are going to start falling. By the time it gets winter, you're like, what happened to my harvest? Because you don't understand that this is a season. We could have stayed in Turo. Somebody asked me like 2 months ago, oh yeah, I want to get into Turo. I'm like, the season has passed. The well has ran dry and you're over here trying to suck from a straw the little left. There was no regulations. There was no fees. We had 33 cars. We literally we had a true net of 70%. Okay. Now they get more money than you do. Okay. For your stuff that you have to do maintenance on and
cleaning,
cleaning, tires, everything. the profit margins have very much dropped, right? So it's about understanding the season that you're in at the time you're doing it, right? So
Let
back
me
to
ask you a
your
follow-up. Let me ask you a follow-up. I'm sorry. Let me ask you a quick follow-up. So one thing that stands out to me, Jayla, is your drive. Like you're like hyper focused. You have the ability, unlike most, to create this vision and then develop a plan of action through mentors and the like. Where does that drive come from? Is it your parents? Is it, where's it come from?
I think you have to have an internal drive, right? Everyone always talks about the why, right? Every mentor event I go to, the first thing they talk about is your why. Like even me, I'm like, man, I've heard about the why before. Like, it's your why. Why do you do the things that you do, right? But we can get to a place of complacency, right? And even growing up, right, in school, if you were in the kindergarten for 5 years, something's wrong, right? Right. So as kids, we understand every year we're supposed to grow. We're supposed to learn something new. We're supposed to get to another level. But after high school, some people are like, oh, I learned every single thing I need to do. Let's get into this field of work. And other people are like, oh, after college, so you just did 4 more years than the other person. I'm not going to learn anything else. I am a master. Some people get their masters in 4 years. I'm a master in my craft. I have a degree. I have a degree in biological sciences with a minor in chemistry. I can say, oh, I am successful. I graduated cum laude. I don't need to know another thing. Let me just go out there into the field and make some money. But if you stay at the same level and you're comfortable there, they say the thing that robs you of making $500,000 is making $100,000 and being complacent. You live a comfortable life, man. Even if you get to 200,000, because 100 isn't much now. Okay, so let's just go to 150, 200. Okay, let's say I make 200,000 a year. We can say, wow, we have the cars that we want, we have the place that we want, our neighborhood's good, our kids are safe, and I'm okay. We can do 2 vacations a year. And if we say that's the level of growth that we want to get to, that's the level of growth you'll get to. If you put a bamboo tree in a house, the first year it's comfortable. It can be comfortable up to, I think, the 14th year. But then when it tries to shoot up, you're going to stunt it. So if we say we make our own ceiling, and complacency isn't good. There was a Bob Proctor. I listen to Bob Proctor a lot. Okay. Bob Proctor, he was talking about how they said it was a sin to be poor, and people were so offended that the man said that. And in your thoughts, you're like, man, it's a sin to be poor. That just doesn't sound right. Right? It sounds offensive. But when you have a lack of resources, you can only think about yourself because you're trying to survive. And it's not a sin in the sense of the 10 Commandments. But they're saying when you're only at a level of survival mode, you can never be at a level of more giving. So no matter what we want to do, we wanted to be able to give our church 10,000 if we wanted to. We wanted to be able to tithe. My goal is to tithe 10,000 a month. Okay, so you already know if you can do the math, how much I want to make a month. Okay, so we said for us to reach the fulfillment that we want, we have to continue to push ourselves. And even the Bible says through prosperity, his kingdom is going to be spread abroad. We're believers and we're strong in our faith and we're strong in our convictions. We know that resources are important to move visions. And that's the thing that keeps me going. And that's the key thing that keeps me motivated.
I love that.
I like that. Yeah. Could you say that one last thing? Resources are used to motivate or to move. Oh, no, you said resources are used to motivate visions or to move visions. How did you say
To
it?
move them, yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that
I think
saying.
God won't give you the vision unless he can give you he'll give you the provisions with every vision you have. And I think
So,
that the more we solve people's problems, the more resources naturally come.
so you're using your mentor. Your business now is, you mentioned
Okay,
your,
okay, so the
Wait for
new
this, Smiley. Wait till you hear this.
because you
Talk
didn't,
about
you just said it's
making a
not
pivot
Turo.
and being resourceful.
Oh yeah,
okay,
because you
so
didn't say you didn't say it.
like I
So
said,
I
we
was
were just gonna buy a business a year, add to our portfolio, or grow our other businesses. That was our goal, and that's where we were at. And my mentor came out here in during the Super Bowl, and it was a convention, a conference thing, and he was talking about solar, and I was like, I don't want to join a business. I haven't had a job. So back to that. And he said the same way you were first to the market with Turo and your rentals out here, if you're first to this market, you're going to kill it. Right? They say if you want to get wealthy, identify where the masses are and get there first. Right? So we said, okay, we understand that Nashville is having an energy crisis. Okay, a lot of I don't know if people know that or not, but so many people moved here during COVID that the energy infrastructure of our cities can't handle it. That's why they're scheduling. There's something called brownouts where they schedule parts of town to black out because
Mm-hmm.
too many people are on the grid. Okay, even in the United States, almost everybody's grid is at least 100 years old. Okay,
At least.
so we said, okay, there's an issue here, and even with Congress. So in 2022, they came up with a bill, right, for $400 billion. Okay, that's what the B. Okay, and they said that they're going to put $400 billion into solar initiatives to ease the burden on the grids of our cities, and that would also help rebuild the energy infrastructures of the cities. And they said, who's going to pay for this? And they said, we can't raise taxes because an election's coming up. Right? So they said, okay, if you find out who's going to pay for this, we will push the bill through. Okay. So they came back like 2 months later with a 1.2 trillion, okay, with a T, $1 trillion bill. And they put all these stipulations in there. They said you can get solar with no money out of your pocket. We'll pay the closing costs and installations. They said that power plants are going to foot this bill. And they also said that power plants have 10 years to lower emissions 90% or they have to shut down. Okay. And that's a big deal. Okay. We don't understand that because we get all our electricity from power plants. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they literally said that we're not footing this bill because we have to pay to do pipelines and create rock and send all emissions to rock formations. And it's going to cost a lot of money. So they said the electric companies are going to pay for it. And the electric company said, look, I'm not footing this bill either. So guess who's going to pay for it? The people. Okay. So before the bill passed, energy was only 2% rising each year. When the bill passed, it went up to 21% across the United States. So they actually caused energy inflation, and energy inflation caused all the other inflation. Okay. So that's why you'll hear people from the right and left saying different things, the green scam, the green energy thing, and you hear all these things on the news and you're like, what?
Right.
It's not a
Everyone's
scam.
blaming everyone else.
They just didn't realize, and that's what they're blaming it on corporate greed. Okay, you hear that all the time. It's not us, it's corporate greed. The bill, technically, if we want to be technical, caused inflation. Okay, and the funny part is called the Inflation Reduction Act. Isn't that ironic? That's why they changed the name to the Green Deal. Okay, the
Okay.
irony was shaking. So that's what he was saying. He said if you're the first in your market, like how many people talking about solar?
Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
Not many.
No.
But
Yeah.
it's going to be the same thing with Turo. It's going to be the
Yeah.
same thing with Airbnb. In 3 to 5 years, because this bill is lasting for the next 8 years now, it's going to be so saturated. And I said, okay, I need to be in an industry where I'm first to market. Okay. And I looked in Tennessee. There's not many. There's like maybe 1, 2 companies, but most of them are just installers. They're not even a real company. And I even asked because I was just gonna buy one, right? I said, why not? And so I still have a meeting with the guy. I can't name names and those kind of things.
Mhm.
But so that's what we're in. We're in solar right now. I know at least the next 3 to 5 years are going to be strong. Like I said, I'm going to rack it up if I can. Right? It's
Yeah.
all about the vehicle, right? So if I say I want to go to Paris, I'm not going to try to drive there, right? So that's like the equivalent of saying, hey, I'm going to make $100K a month and I'm going to just use my job, right? Jobs are great. I never knock jobs. Jobs are beautiful, and that's where we started, right? That was how we could able to save to actually invest in a mentor. But it's the wrong vehicle to take you to wealth creation. So, we're going to have to go private jet or a helicopter or something
So
to take us to
look,
Paris.
I'm in Florida, and when I drive on the highway, I see solar farms like as far as the eye can see.
Exactly.
So when you say solar, are you talking residential, commercial, solar farms, utilities? Can you define what you mean by solar business?
So, Harbor, woo, Harbor.
Harbor.
Harbor?
That's the
It's called
company?
Harbor Solar, and we're actually in 26 states right now. And so in 11 states, we actually do residential, commercial, and solar farms. And in Tennessee specifically, we only do residential. But Harbor's goal is to be the largest solar company in the world. So we're expanding. Right before the bill passed, we were only in 3 states. Now we're in 23 states. So you see, at the end
23.
of 2000, yeah. So we're in over 26 now. Yeah, as of July 1st. But the thing about it is, as of 2022, when the bill passed, we were only in 3 states. Right. So the CEO, he's a really great guy. Josh Hatch. There we go. It's a tongue twister. And even Eric Thomas. You guys know Eric Thomas?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's on the board of the company. This is the only company he's ever been a part of, and he said it's just because he believes in the vision of the company. So it's a great company, and I actually like working there. I'm actually helping people create brokerages around the United States. I have
How
people
old
in
is the company?
12 states now.
That's great. How old is the company? Harbor.
So the company was founded in 2017,
Okay.
but the executive team. They have over 20 years of experience. So that was when they decided to go out on their own in 2017.
Right. So let's talk about your long-term goal as it
Yes.
relates to business, buying businesses, etc.
Yes.
So is your long-term goal to keep buying businesses on into your 50s and 60s? Is your long-term goal to acquire 30 businesses and then sit back and just, travel the globe? What's the long-term goal?
Okay. So before, like I said, I started. I didn't maybe say this, but I started in ministry. So
Okay.
that's my desire. I only became a
Uh,
business owner so that I got the freedom to do ministry. Okay. And so my long-term goal, there's a scripture that says not through prosperity. Sorry, that was the last one. There's a scripture that says the mountain of the Lord's house will be exalted above every other mountain and established upon the hills, and men and women will flow into it. So we always hear the different mountains of society. I used to be a church planter when I was in college. Okay, actually until I was 25. Okay, so from college to 25, I was a church planter. And I said, okay, if I can help plant churches, but we can't plant businesses the same kind of way, we'll be in charge of the religious sector of society, but we won't have the economy. And the economy is very important. You saw what happened during even things like COVID. I'm not saying it was a bad thing to shut down or anything. I'm saying that during COVID, we saw the ability for people to tell us, you guys can't meet, right? And even when used to have jobs before, sometimes they would say, oh, yeah, you can't go to a church conference because I need you to work this shift. We have to have the ability to have control over our lives and things that are important to us. We need more people who have values, morals in business, right? People always knock people who are wealthy because they say that they don't care about people, they don't have any values, they're ripping people off and all these different things. But what if believers had morals and values and brought those kind of values into the economy, right? I think that's really important. So long term, I want to be able to go to churches and show people how to either buy businesses or start businesses and grow wealth so that they can actually leave, inheritance. Right? They say a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So if people didn't leave no inheritance, I'm not saying you're a bad man, but
You may want to do some soul searching.
Exactly. So I think that's very important to be able to free up those kind of things. So we don't have to have even our children out there doing things for money or, even like trading time for money is the first step, but we can't stay there.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important. So I want to get back into ministry eventually. That is the long-term goal. I want to help believers actually build businesses and create communities where there is success there. I think it's terrible that they say you're as poor as a church rat. Like, why is a church rat poorer than a regular rat? Like that's sad to me.
I was like, why does it have to be that way? Tell
Exactly.
me
Like
this,
the church
Jayla.
rat gets nothing. Like you're even more poor than a regular rat. Like I don't
Yeah.
like that.
Tell me this, Jayla, and I'll
Yeah.
pass it over to Smiley here. So, that's an admirable goal to have the type of freedom where you can actually, you know, follow your faith and change the world through your faith. That's an admirable goal, and it's through financial freedom. What do you say to those people that say, I don't know that I have what you have. I don't know that I have that drive. I don't know that I have that ability to be a business owner. You know, maybe everyone isn't made to own a business. Smiley's in sales.
Yes.
I feel like he's made for that.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to someone who says that to you? Like, I don't know if I'm made for this. What's the answer there for someone who doesn't feel like they have what you have the ability to do what you do?
Okay, so this might actually be controversial, if you will.
Okay, you like controversial?
I don't believe that everyone should be a business owner. I think that most people aren't leaders. Like, no offense to people who aren't leaders, but I don't think that everyone needs to be a leader. I think that you have to understand who you are, but I think that everyone should have multiple streams of income. Okay, even if you're not a business owner, being a business owner is a lot of work. Okay, anybody who says, "Man, I don't want to work a 9 to 5, so I'm gonna start a business," those are the people who stay at your job, please, because you're going to be working 24 to 1, whatever.
Right, 9 to 5 will be like a vacation to you.
Exactly, those are the numbers, 24/7.
Yeah, 24/7.
If you don't have a passion or a drive, and you're not someone who is supposed to be in business, see what area. Like I said, my sheep hear my voice. I'm led by people who are leaders because I aspire to lead. I feel like I have the gifts to lead teams, but it took a while to get there. I'm naturally an introvert. I just like being alone. And even when I first got into ministry, I'm like, I do not think this is not me. And the more that I sat inside and I studied and these kind of things, I got the empowerment to do it. I believe that everyone has gifts. They said there's treasure hidden in earthen vessels. We're the earthen vessel. There's treasure in there. And we just need to see where our treasure is. Some people's treasure is in building a family, being a homemaker. I think that people who are homemakers are beautiful. I am not a natural homemaker. Okay? This is difficult for me.
Is that your gift?
Like, not just sitting here. I do a lot of work as a mother of 2 toddlers. It's a lot, okay? But it's a different kind of a lot. Like, I like being challenged outside. I like the struggle. I like the grind. But these babies, whoa. I was like, nobody told me that this was going to be so much work. Like, this is way more work than I planned. But some people, that's their gift, to build and to instill, to be that supportive leg, because you need a supportive leg. But you can't look at yourself and say, man, I'm not as valuable. But how can you use that supportive leg to draw an extra stream of income? One stream of income is too close to no streams of income. Okay. And that's too close to broke for me. So see how, okay, it doesn't have to be 7, but what can you do to just add an additional stream? There's always going to be some fully hands-on. There's going to be some semi-passive things you could do. Fully passive. If there's something that you can actually believe in, I'm all for affiliate
Marketing.
income is great. Affiliate income is great. What else? Arbitrage. These are all things on my vision board. Arbitrage is, hey, I'm someone who can facilitate things, but I'm not actually the one carrying out the work. Okay, so I'm like the middleman to see, hey, I can pull this in, and I'm a good communicator, but I'm not the person who is a manual labor person, right? So if you could be the person who's like, I'm the facilitator, and I can help you guys connect. Okay, my fee is right, 5%. Right, whatever way you can build wealth, there's a million ways, probably a billion ways to be a millionaire. They literally said it's easier to get $1 million than to get a 6-pack. Isn't that crazy? If you look at the percentages of people who have 6-packs versus the percentage of millionaires, there's more millionaires than people with 6-packs. Who would have thought?
And by the way, Smiley, she's not talking about beer. She's talking about 6-pack stomach.
I got it. No, this is so amazing. Jayla, tell me this. With your success, has anyone approached you about being a mentor? because it sounds like it's a natural for you because with your
Yeah.
ministry, you're dropping jewels, plus you're dropping businesses, you're evolving, you're octopus with the multiple streams. So are you a mentor? Have people approached you about coaching and being a mentor?
Okay, so I have had masterminds, right? Where we would do monthly calls. And the funny part is with my mentor, there was just we all had the same mentor. So we just would meet up. And somehow I became the leader of that group. Like it was
Naturally.
it was it was
Naturally.
it was odd because I don't know how it happened.
Right.
Because we were all just there, on the same wavelength. And I started leading it. It was like 15 to 20 people every Thursday. We had those meetings. So I stopped those meetings when I got pregnant. No, when I was giving birth to my first one. And since then, people are like, "Oh yeah, you should be a mentor." And I made a course on Turo right before, and I'm trying to do these things, but like I said, know thyself. Okay, I'm not I'm not that person. Like I can help people. I can sit down one on one, but I'm not the person who is like Marcus Barney M500. He's made to mentor. Even Bees, that's what they call them, BEZ, the one I use for merger and acquisitions. They love it. Okay, they love the coaching calls and building a community. They're good at it. I'm not. Like I'm good with, I can have meetings and groups and help people get to their goals. I'm like a small level mentor. I'm not like the Grant Cardones, and I'm just not like that's not me. And I don't know, like I feel like I tried, but it just doesn't work. It doesn't. So I said,
Yeah.
let me just stay in my lane.
Right.
I can help people, and I'm good with being a visionary and casting the vision. I'm good at visionary cast vision, helping you get to that vision. But I'm not like the person who's like, I'm gonna hold your hand and we're gonna run into this tunnel together. you know. So I think that's I'm adjacent. I'm a mentor adjacent.
I like that. Mentor adjacent. So here's one before we move into final four. Is there any question that we should have asked you that you wanted us to ask you that we didn't ask you?
Um, Let me think.
Like how we can connect with Harbor Solar, or like
Oh
how
yeah, definitely. So if you're interested in Harbor Solar, we're in 26 states. You can actually be a consultant, right? If you just want to be a consultant, you can learn how to sell solar. It's really just like conversational. It's no like hard pressure sales. There's no recruiting required, any of those kind of things. If you want to build a team, you are incentivized to build a team, but obviously people make six figures by themselves.
What about the
Okay,
people that
so
have own equity in the harbor? Or is it a public company or is it private
so
equity?
it's not a public company, no. There's not really equity. They do like the brokerage model. So are you guys familiar with how brokerages work in the United States? Okay, so
Yeah.
like if you're a real estate agent in most states, by law you have to be a part of a brokerage.
Mhm.
Okay,
okay.
so brokerages take about 20 to 30% of everything that comes in. You guys know like Gary Ashton and those kind of people. They can take up to 80% of your commission, which is terrible.
Wow.
Okay,
Terrible.
that's disgusting. Okay,
Yeah.
so Harbor wanted to do a brokerage model, but they don't do it like real estate. So consultants will get their full commission, but anything that comes through your brokerage, you get 8% on top of that. Right? So you're not taking any money out of the actual consultant's fees. You're getting money on top of that because the company's incentivizing you to build your team. Okay. So that's a little better than the franchise model. When you do a franchise model, to get in the franchise and even the territory is like 100,000 at least. A good
Yeah.
franchise anyway.
Right.
So they said they didn't want to do the franchise model because it's going to be too slow. So they do the brokerage model, which is a lot simpler.
Interesting.
Okay.
And so if they wanted to reach out to you, those
Yes.
listening, to be a consultant, can we share your email? Is there an email, website? What's the best way for them to reach out
Yeah,
to you?
you can go to harbortn.com, okay? Or you can follow me at Jayla Boss Lady Thomas on Instagram. You can reach out there. But either of those places are good.
Okay. Great.
Yes.
Awesome.
Great. All right, Smiley, you want to kick off the final
So,
four?
all right, we're going to move into the final four.
All
So
right.
Jayla, as the first final four question, what is something that never fails to make you laugh? Like hold your side, just you can't stop laughing.
Okay, I think that my favorite show is Seinfeld. Okay, I know it's crazy. I started watching it in the 6th grade. Okay, so I have been a fan. I love to laugh. I love comedy. I like dry humor. I like
Okay.
humor that you have to think, innuendos, puns. I think the puns are hilarious. Double entendres, they make me laugh. So those are the things that never cease to like. No matter what's on Netflix, I'll somehow always still go back to Seinfeld. Like there's nothing
Okay.
else good to watch. I watch business videos and Seinfeld. Those are the two things.
You have good taste. You have
Awesome.
good taste. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken?
So the biggest risk I didn't or I've ever taken was not going to medical school.
Uh,
Okay. So I originally that's what my degree's in. I graduated honors for St. John's. I was pre-med. And you know, I was gonna go to Meharry Medical School out here. And I had a mentor at the time, but she was a pastor, and this is when I was planting a church in Georgia. And she's actually a mentor. She helps people, entrepreneurial doctors. And she was like, this is the age where you have to be an entrepreneurial doctor. So you don't live paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, if I have to be an entrepreneur, why be a doctor? Like, so
that's
I'm like,
right.
because then I'm gonna have even less time with my family.
Right.
Like, I wanted to be a doctor not because I was so passionate about medicine. To be honest, I just wanted to have money and freedom. Okay, so I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, maybe work 4 days on, 3 days off. That
Right.
was my whole gig.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if I have to be an entrepreneur, which I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Okay, I just wanted to do it safe, play it safe. Okay, I know play it safe, be a doctor doesn't sound right, but I just wanted to play it safe. I said they say if you're smart, be a doctor or a lawyer
Okay.
or an engineer. Right? I
Okay.
tried engineering. They put me in engineering camps as a kid. Imagine.
Oh,
So I was like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest risk I've ever taken, not going to medical school and just betting on myself.
Love it.
wow, that's awesome. Betting on yourself. Here's one. If you could spend 24 hours with someone alive or dead, who would you want to spend 24 hours with?
That is a good question. Who would I want to spend 24 hours with?
Alive or
I
dead?
would want to spend 24 hours. Okay, this may sound like so, like a random person, but I want to spend 24 hours with Betty White.
Ah,
Betty White, the
I
comedian?
think Betty White, she was like
yeah.
the forefront of a lot of things, and a lot of people don't realize that she was the first person to, I think, do like a segregated show, right? Like she was,
Yeah.
and she she was someone who she stood for something. And I can't say that anyone has ever said I don't like Betty White.
No, I've
I would
never
say
heard that.
I would
I've
say
never
Wow.
like,
heard
and
that.
she's hilarious. Did you
Yeah.
guys see when she was like older? She started doing
Yeah.
those like prank shows.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. She used
A
to make me
riot.
laugh.
Right.
And she reminds me of my grandmother. Like I like Betty White. I feel like she's the character and the nurture. And I would ask her about family and motherhood and desires that she has, those kind of things, and like how did
Yeah.
she keep it going for so long? I think she started in like her
Mm.
20s or something. How did she
Yeah.
keep that success going for
Into
that
her
long? And it
90s,
wasn't
right?
just like TV, right? She had
Yeah.
successes outside of that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
That's
What's
a
the
first one.
worst piece of advice that you've ever received?
The worst piece of advice I've ever received, it was funny. It was do what feels good. And I think it was actually from a president. I think President George Bush said it. And I was like 8 or something. And I was like,
Yeah.
that didn't even sound right as an 8-year-old.
Right.
I was like, do what feels good. I think that if I did what felt good,
Right.
I would probably have 1,500 children. Um, I would be morbidly obese. Um, and I would never work. Okay. So I think that when we get out of our comfort zone, that's when we grow, right? When we have the pressure, right? Just like a diamond will never form if there's no pressure. So I think that we shouldn't do what feels good. Okay. Delayed gratification is the sign of intelligence. They literally test
Ooh.
kids in psychology classes. They give them, they say, if you get candy right now, you'll get one
Yeah.
piece. But if you get candy in 5 minutes or 20 minutes, you're going to get 3 pieces. And
Right.
the people with higher test scores were all the people who delayed the gratification. So do what feels good. Don't do what feels good. Do what is hard now so that you can do what feels good later.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Jayla, this interview is a great example of why me and Smiley enjoy having this podcast channel, which is, giving a platform to people that can inspire others, giving a platform to people that are examples of like what the possibilities are. Some people work their 9 to 5 and think that's the only option. Some people, feel discouraged and think, oh man, there's no way I'll ever make, more than $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
You guys have proven that there are a lot of options out there. As you said, there are more millionaires than people with 6-packs.
Yeah.
So for those that are listening, I encourage you to check out Jayla's Instagram page. It's really inspiring. It's filled with a lot of options that you can consider in terms of what the possibilities are for you to make that pivot that Jayla mentioned earlier. And Jayla, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure. Smiley.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's just been fascinating. I've got so many jewels of wisdoms, and I love the expressions like the sheep and different things in ministry. So keep up the good work. Please come back when you're at 100 million, or when you're making that 10,000 tithing per month.
When I hit 100K a month, I'll be here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you'll be back in December, is what you're saying?
I'm telling you.
Yeah, she'll be back 2025 January. All right.
That's right.
Well, it's good talking.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again.